Alright, welcome to EVE Online. And this is a replay, my first replay. So, I'm in an Aster house, turned off the volume, the webcam was on and was screwing up the volume, so sorry about that. You're just going to hear my audio. So, here we go, I'm just showing what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to launching two of my fighters into space. I'm leaving the siren in. Now I accidentally only launched one, so I go for another. And I select both of them, or I select one and go W and get that approaching, and then W, orbit, and click that. And they're moving towards it, so I'm fairly confident I don't need to use tactical overlay. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you how long they take to get all the way over to their charge, and it takes a long time when it's 150 kilometers away. They go up to like 8,500 meters per second when you hit that micro warp, and they can get to that position no problemo at all. This is just showing you how slow it can get. These are the locations of the DPS, 50 kilometers from the Upwell. And this is the location of any Guardians. They're about 35 kilometers from they're 40 kilometers from the DPS ships. And they're usually, sometimes they used to be orbiting a Damnation or an EOS or whatever, but yeah, that's where they are, that's where they hang out. And they were using, this is their long range, taking a while, shooting at the freaking the Upwell. And this is the location of the Harbinger that I'm adapting the strategy to. It's a pseudo Harbinger, it's not a Harbinger at all, but so my fighters get to the Harbinger. Obviously I'm going to be using my warp to get them right there, so I don't have to watch them go trolling by the DPS. You just whip by the DPS and the Guardians, get on top of the Harbinger, and yeah, there you go. Now the Harbinger is the anchor and the warp in point, and it's 100 kilometers from the DPS boats. And here I go, I'm gonna hit the old MWD and see how quick they go. They whip by everybody. It's crazy. They're not even finished their MWD by the time they get back. See? Yeah, really quick. So yeah, no problem. And what I do is I use the Harbinger as a warp in for my Griffins. So the Harbinger gets there, I send my fighters to it, hit MWD for orbit, W, etc, 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 I was just saying, and they take off like a bat out of hell for that, and then I start going for my Griffins one at a time, and I warp directly to the Harbinger, land, click orbit, and that orbit is 2,500 meters, and I hit the Afterburner, and then I target Drex and one Drekavac. It I just did this as a kind of a randomizations of the Drekavac names compared to the Leshaks. I'll have Drekavacs and Leshaks in this. There we go. Now I'm talking about his. Or I didn't even have music. I was just doing it, and I'm about 60 clicks from the Guardians, so they could send drones after me, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about a few Guardian drones. We've got missiles, and the Harbinger can take care of it and all that stuff. And remember, we wouldn't be exactly 60 behind the. That's a perfect. That's the closest you get. So, and here I go. I'll warp in one. I'll land. Yeah, this is just a test. It would be a lot different when we hit the field. It's not going to be exactly less than 60 than from the Guardians. So remove that, and what this tab will have is simply these guys, and I'll order by name, and I'll set up beforehand, and I'll just F1, F6, F7, and F8, and I click the next guy, warp it to shareable, and in that time I have quite a few seconds to go back to my Upwell, select targets, get things set up. I newt the first two Leshaks, one each, repeating, and the third I paint and shoot. The paint does nothing for fighters, so don't just ignore anything. So okay, it's landing now, and I'll ECM, and then I'll switch to my guy, hit orbit on the harbinger 2500, hit the afterburner, target the next, go step by 2. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, and etc., etc., etc. And if I get some Drekavacs in that too, that's fine. I have enough for quite many of them, and I'm super happy just getting it done. Pressuring their micro is a really excellent way to go. I'm thinking that maybe I shouldn't really have Drekavacs on there, because the primary things I need to jam to cut not only the DPS going into the Upwell, but to cut the Logi, which is really good for Leshak. So I think what I'll do is, when I set this up for tonight, an actual Leshak tab, I will remove the Drekavacs in it, because I think that's I think I was trying to do too much. I think I just need to make things simple and go for it. So here I am practicing. I've got time. It's in warp. I can select things. I can make sure things have enough ammo. I can watch for, say, the Incursus going for the harbinger, so I can help it out with the fighters. I can target the Incursus, etc. Lands, click, orbit, hit afterburner, target, and then target. I just need to switch back and remember what stage I am, and just F5, F6, F7, F8, and then go back to the this is the sorry, I'll press pause here. So this is when I start orbiting the harbinger at 95 kilometers around the DPS anchor. Just orbit around. Also watch for a bumper, because I'll be watching for a bumper too. The APOC RG, he sometimes appears. He can't be here tonight. Sometimes he'll be here or whatever. But yeah, if he does show up, yeah, and if your person you've selected is the anchor and you notice that thing flying off, select another anchor and orbit that. We don't want to get too much off. We'll lose targets and then lose jams. What we really want is to and of course I'll switch to my Upwell and immediately retask my missiles and my painter and launch my siren and go after that if it's being moved quickly and far, because if the Upwell can jam the Guardians and the Griffins can jam the Leshaks, the range on reps is just ridiculously small. So they'll have major problems keeping that thing alive. It'll have inertia. It won't be able to warp very quickly. I'll get a siren on it. I'll task the fighters onto it as well. It'll go down quickly. They'll break and run, because we'll just do it again to them and again, and they whittle away at their and jamming their Leshaks will cut the DPS. It'll take longer. They're at long range. They'll get frustrated. Yeah, so this is the most complex scenario. The usual simple, they come at 0 and everybody's glumped together and it's pizza cake, and we take them out that way, and it's a lot easier for the micro for us. But yeah, that is my plan. I'm just goofing around right now, reordering things. I would, I'd set it up for the Leshaks. I'd want to have them. I'd want to target number 1 and number 2, because if I'm overlapping a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'd really rather want to newt 1 and 2, which are only getting 1 ECM each, whereas the others are kind of overlapping, having 2. And then I'd shoot number 3, or whichever one I choose. Maybe I could target the end one, who was only getting 1 jam, stuff like that. Or say a Nestor even. Now, if you shoot a Nestor, both Nestors are like, they can't rep itself, so bam. And that's what I do. And I'd get rid of 1 target just in case there was an incursus, and then here we go with the siren. If something was going down and I was able to break the tank, and they're not teasing you, because they love to tease, like, ooh, getting into hole, and then they start repping majorly. But yeah, I'd be doing this way will pressure them incredibly. They're multi-boxers. I didn't know that. There's a lot of them. There's a few of them that have a lot of multi-boxing. There's some that only have 1 player in it, which is going to be difficult to break. But if we concentrate on just jamming the Leshaks, they will break, and next time we'll come back with, say, Drekavax and try to do it that way, because I can't really damage Drekavax the way I can Leshaks. You'd be surprised. Even though they have a lot of passive buffer, you just hit for massive damage, and it's the damage that you do. It's not the buffer, it's the damage that you do, because you do more damage than they can rep, you're gonna break them. But if they have a small buffer, but you damage them less, that means the remote reps are going to compensate for it. And that's how you have to think. You cannot think solely on, the Leshaks have more buffer, so we better go for Drex. Incorrect way of thinking. So that's it. And then I'm blapping away at the target, just simulating it. And I mean, if I can practice this I've got to get the overview set, and I'll probably use the Capital Fighter for it. I've got the Capital Fighter as Logi, but I can simply switch for the battleship, Trig battleship. I think I can do that. So that is my plan. Since they're only bringing a couple of Guardians, I'll let the Upwell take care of it. And if they're at 90, well, maybe I'll break them. So that's the plan. The orbit shouldn't really bump into the Upwell if the Harbinger is being careful. But I mean, they can land shots too if they've got beam. If the incursion gets close, 4 of the Griffins have missiles, and I've got the fighters right there, and I can target it and get that on there. And if the Harbinger has a scram and a web, So it's we might lose a Griffin or 2, but I think the pressure will be too much, and they'll just leave. And it's hard for them because apparently they can't form between 1100 and 1300. It's just, if it's before then, maybe they'd stretch it, but between 11 and 1300, so I'm almost guaranteeing a no-show tonight, but I want to get that overview set as soon as possible. I'll do that right after this video. So there you go. That's it. Oh God, hope I was recording.